Okay, so speaking of acceptance, we're going to talk about a subject that's going to be sensitive, especially to people in the Black community. I think people the world over, this is a very sensitive topic. It's going to be kind of hard to get through, so just bear with us. We're going to talk about Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union's child. I'm going to say child because, child is gender neutral. And their child, Zaya, wants to identify as a girl instead of a boy. Now, this has caused quite the uproar. You have people on one side saying that it's inappropriate for a child that young to begin transitioning. And then you have some on the other side that say that, well, when you're going through puberty, you kind of already know how you feel and who you're attracted to and how this doesn't seem to be any different than that. We both have opinions, and in private, we have had our arguments about this. Mm-hmm. It's not an easy subject to broach because this is somebody's kid we're talking about. Right. I think that's what everybody needs to remember in this situation. That this is somebody's kid that we're talking about. This is not like a grown person. This is somebody's kid. And instead of being angry or making fun or, writing it off, I think the thing to do here is to try to listen and understand. Because I can say for myself that learning about the trans community has truly been, like I said, a learning experience. Because I didn't know anything about what it was like to be a trans person. I had never met a trans person up until a few years ago. And I honestly cannot say myself that I would know how that feels to not feel right in my own body, to feel wrong, and have to deal with trying to maneuver the psychological or emotional things that come along with that. So that being said, what's your take?
We have a few key points, but I'm gonna kind of give a little experience that I've had. I had with a buddy of mine. We're in the military together, and I'm gonna leave names anonymous right now. But if you're watching, you're thought of, and I'm hoping the best for you. We hadn't spoken in a while, but it was a young man. And he transitioned to being a woman. When I found this out, it was a shock. Obviously a different, viewpoint from, a friend and a son or a child and an adult. This is a grown man, he has a son and he had a wife. So it was an utter shock to me that this, had occurred. And I asked her questions, and I was like, so what happened? When did you know this? And she said, I've always known this. I've always known that I was a woman, and I wanted to live in my truth. And that statement alone has tended to be the statement that a lot of trans men and women seem to utilize, living in their truth. And I will talk more about this situation as we go through this segment, but this leads me to this next point here. Originally, her name was Zion, and he changed her name to Zaya. And she came to Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle, and really the family as a whole, and did an announcement to them and said, and I quote, "I think going forward, I'm ready to live my truth. And I want to be referenced as she and her. I would love for you guys to call me Zaya." Moving forward a little bit more, and this is knowing. I asked her, and this is my friend I'm talking about. I said, when did you know? And they said that I've always known. Well, Zaya said that she has known since she was 3 that she identified as a girl. Now, that to me is it's a big wow factor for me. Zaya's only 12, a baby. I have youngsters that age, and it's just a shocking thing to really put your head around, and I couldn't imagine what Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union is going through. I mean, they're being very positive about it, being very supportive, which I compliment them on, and definitely praise them for, because at the end of the day, family is family. You love your family regardless of who and what they are. But people are so focused on the transition. Did you take the time to really think what they're going through as parents? The methods that they've had to take to wrap their head around their 12-year-old child now telling them that, hey, I ain't no boy, I'm a girl. This is my truth. And I'm pretty sure Dwayne Wade, with every inch of his soul, wanted to say, what are you talking about?
I mean, he probably did.
We don't know this.
We don't
right?
know, because there could have been, if Zaya knew since she was 3, then, there could have been conversations all along where they were trying to figure out, well, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know what to do with this. I've never experienced this. And I was raised not to believe that this was like a true, and I'll call it what it is. It's a true mental, not an illness, but a dysfunction. Because if you're one way and you feel like you should be another, there's a disconnect there.
Scientifically, yeah. If you can approach it in that manner, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so, and chemically, there might be something where, yes, everything about them feels like that they should be one thing or the other. Mm-hmm. What I don't like when people try to bring up transracial, because race is not something that is like a physical attribute. I mean, it is a physical attribute, but it was also like a social construct. Mm-hmm. Race was created by Europeans, and if you don't know the history behind that, go and look that up. And so
basically it's a way to separate people,
and being black is more than skin color. I mean, arguably you could say being a woman is more than just having female parts. Mm-hmm. I mean, a man is more than just having male parts. Mm-hmm. We know plenty of people that are naturally born men and males and females that identify that way and don't actually act that way. Mm-hmm. Again, this is a hard subject because I, as a parent, I'm not going through this, mm-hmm. and I don't think I'll deal with this with my child, but I couldn't imagine what it'd be like to be a parent and hear your kid tell you that they feel wrong. Mm-hmm. And I just want to say that I commend Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade for listening to their child, because not just in this case, but in all cases, there are plenty of cases where your kid will come to you and tell you something, especially in the black community, and we will write it off, or we'll tell you to go pray it away, or we'll tell you to go, you don't know what you're talking about, you're just a kid, go sit down and go do something else. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they're actually listening to their child and have concerns about their child's well-being, not only mentally but and emotionally, but physically as well, I think that's to be commended. Our babies are killing themselves.
Yeah, over being bullied by things that they feel. Growing up, elementary, middle, high school, I mean, all the guys, mainly the guys, I'm gonna point on guys, I'm not even focused on the females, but the guys in this regard, a lot of the brothers that I've known that, as we would say, they sweet, or they had feminine ways or whatever. A lot of those brothers, they received a lot of punishment. And it wasn't necessarily physically and all, and it was emotional damage and psychological damage, and that to me is the most dangerous of them all. A cut, a bruise can always heal, but a bruise or a cut or anything in that matter, emotionally or to your mind, that takes years to heal. And I've never understood how in the Black community, yes, there is history behind homosexuality, in regards to slavery and things like that, the breaking a man and things like that. We get that. I get that. I get the history. However, when it's a conscious decision, that's a totally different aspect. As we flip it back to like the Zaya situation, I mean, we're looking at a child, and I think that's the biggest argument. If Zaya was 18, if Zaya was 16, that would still be an argument, but at 16, in some states, you are considered, mentally capable or competent enough to make the decisions.
I mean, it's a matter of opinion, but I feel like 18 is probably the age.
Well, all throughout the U.S., 18 is your legally.
Because I feel like at 16,
right?
You're still kind of a child, but
right?
You're still figuring things out.
Right, but you figured out things a little bit more at 16 than you have at 12.
Some of us haven't.
Right, I agree, but that's
not true. It depends on the person. It depends on the child.
Right.
But I think at any age, somebody would have a problem with this.
Yeah,
they
have a problem with adults right now.
Yeah, I don't think, because also Magic Johnson and Cookie Johnson's son,
his son's gay,
EJ,
right?
Yeah, okay. EJ is gay, and y'all had a problem with that too. So
right.
I don't think the age is the problem here. I think it's the wanting to transition from a boy to a girl. I think it's the gay part that y'all really have a problem with, which, I
think age is the thing.
I'm not going to say you have a right to feel the way you do, because I feel like that's kind of a cop-out. I feel like if you don't have all the information about a situation, that you can't form a full opinion.
Right.
And that's what I've had to learn myself, because I was one of the people who didn't understand or even support trans people. Because I was like,
well,
and let's get real here. I was one of the women that said, I don't understand. You're not a woman. I'm a woman. I had a baby. I have a menstrual cycle every month. And so I've had to check myself and learn and grow from the things that I thought before. And I've had to, and right now I'll make my apologies, because I didn't understand. And now that I do, I get it. And I apologize for feeling that way.
It seems like you definitely see that you're looking at it from not just the physical aspect of it, you're looking at it from an emotional and psychological aspect of it. And that's like really the main thing that people have to understand and realize, that something there is different in the minds of a trans male and a trans female. Now, this right here, what I'm about to say in regards to our notes, kind of goes into what we're doing and what other people are doing. It's D Wade being criticized by other celebrities for supporting Zaya's transition. Now, one gentleman here, we all know him as Lil Boosie. I'm not going to say the other end of his name, but y'all know who he is, Lil Boosie, right?
Let me just say this. Lil Boosie.
Let me do the quote first.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me do the quote first.
Go ahead, because I have opinions about this.
Oh, Lord.
Fully formed opinions.
Okay, let me do the quote first.
Go ahead.
Jesus, we know it. That's why I put it on here. Lil Boosie. All right, he was quoted as saying, and some of this is edited, "You have gone too far." That's a male, a 12-year-old boy. At 12, they don't even know what their next meal gonna be. They don't have it figured out yet. He might meet a woman, anything at 16, fall in love with her, but his penises will be gone. Now, okay, go ahead, Lale. Unleash.
Okay, and let's just, and again, this is kind of a tough subject. If you don't want your kids to hear this, then turn it off. But as a learning tool, maybe when they're a little bit older, maybe show this to them. Now, Bootsy doesn't have the place to be telling anybody how to raise their children.
Here we go. You know what he's talking about his 14-year-old son. When
his son turned 14, he talked about how he was going to celebrate by buying him a prostitute to so that she could perform fellatio, and that's a nice way of saying what that is on him. Now, your 14-year-old son can get fellatio from a prostitute, but this young person feels like they feel wrong in their body and they want to feel okay about themselves. And you think that's wrong? Now, granted, she is a child. Now, and let's be clear, because I think what everybody's missing here is that she's not going to have the surgery right now.
Yeah,
Legally, she cannot.
No doctor will perform that surgery on a 12-year-old child and to keep their license. That's some stuff that you do in
Legally,
like Thailand.
she cannot transition right now.
Right.
In a few years, yes, in a few years, if she feels differently, she can decide not to.
Right.
But she's not transitioning right now.
Right.
Y'all need to get that in your brains and listen sometimes. A lot of the problem with humans in society and our community in particular is that we don't listen. Some of y'all need to sit down and listen instead of reacting off of headlines.
Right.
But anyway,
Say a minute. Okay. I'm gonna pull her back. There we go. Just a little bit so she can see. She can roll all the way up in her seat. No, I mean I don't really blame her for feeling the way she feels. I think he's out of line. But here's the funny thing about it is I get where he's coming from. He's the hood dude. He grew up in the hood, and in the hood, man, being gay, being trans, that ain't what life's about. Like, you're not supposed to be that way. That's kind of what
Here's my problem. Hold on. No, here's my problem. It is okay for y'all to allow these young boys to run around here, have sex with several different girls, get women pregnant, not take care of their children, grow up to be dusty butt men that don't take care of their children and responsibilities. But if somebody has a mental issue that is bothering them, when they're not hurting anybody, when they're not causing physical, emotional, mental harm to anybody else, y'all have a problem. That is what I can't understand about some of y'all. Not all of you, but some of you. And some of you are going to start quoting Bible scriptures, and that's fine. I'm a Christian too. I can quote them just like you can. But here's the thing. Y'all don't have problems with adultery. Y'all don't have problems with lasciviousness. Well, no, that's lasciviousness. Y'all don't have problems with greed. You don't treat your brothers and sisters the way you should. Loving thy neighbor. Y'all have problems with that. You're out here shooting each other, killing each other and everything. And all of that is okay. But this isn't. For some reason, this sin in particular is the worst possible sin that's out there. And you have a problem with this sin, but not all the other ones. That's where I have a problem. If you're going to be a Christian and you're going to call out somebody's sin, check your own. Check your own. Because there are plenty of us, myself included, who have come short of the glory of God. All of us have. And so you passing judgment on how somebody else sins is a problem. Now you can love that person. You can tell them about the Lord. You can tell them about the love of Jesus and how if they want to be delivered from whatever they're going through, they can be. And some people have. But at the end of the day, you cannot make people believe the way that you do and feel the way that you do. Now, if you don't want to feel that way, that's fine. Keep your opinions to yourself. I'm done.
Going on to the next topic. D. Wade's ex-wife refused to acknowledge Zaya's transition.
Yet another person who has not been a good parent to their children that's giving opinions.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, Dwayne Wade has custody for a reason.
Lilac has said a lot of things, and there's a lot of truth to what she's saying, and a lot of emotion behind what she's saying, and people have to understand. And one of the main things I have an issue with, I've never had a problem with gay folks or trans. Now, I've been ignorant in my ways as a youngster and not understanding and not knowing, but as I've grown to be a man, I've realized that people have the right to make decisions to be who and what they desire to be. And honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what none of us say. None of this matter what they say. It doesn't matter what Boosie said or anybody else say. But getting back on focus, it's unfortunate that the ex-wife doesn't even acknowledge the transition and not understand where she's coming from. I don't agree with it, because that's your child. Whether you like it or not, you're supposed to love your child.
And at the end of the day, love your babies.
Exactly.
They're your kids. You can go and have more kids or whatever, but at the end of the day, if my kid came to me and said, I feel bad, Mom, and I don't know why, I'm going to listen to them. Or I feel bad, Mom, and I know why, I'm going to listen and see what I can do.
Right, absolutely. Because it's your responsibility to do that as a parent, to give your all to your children, to the best of your ability, We just have to understand we have to just move forward with the situation at hand and being supportive. And in regards to being supportive, we have a few people that's been overwhelmingly supportive, celebrity-wise, to Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle and Zaya, the situation as a whole. And Cardi B, she said a lot of people don't grow up with trans, gay people, and this and that. She said they just don't. So, I understand that they just don't be understanding certain things. But people try to understand, because sometimes you will be wanting people to understand you. So try to understand somebody else, especially when it is a child. I mean, that just basically, goes off of what Lala just said. Understanding, truly understand. And that's really the main thing. The inability to listen and the inability to understand. That is why there's such a stigma about trans in the Black community, gay in the Black community, homosexuality in the Black community, whatnot. Because no one seeks to understand. Matter of fact, even in the Christian community, I understand biblically that, the word of God says it's an abomination. However, the word of God also said that we should love one another. Mm-hmm. Okay? And love is supposed to, overthrow and overpower any and everything, sin and all. That's why Jesus died on the cross for us. And like I said, if you're not a Christian, that's fine. I'm not forcing my beliefs on you, but I'm not going to shy away from what I believe. Okay? And I believe that love is what we need in this world instead of condemnation.
And then some of you that aren't Christians have blamed a lot of what's going on with the homosexual community on the media and on white supremacy and on the lack of Black unity and Black family togetherness. This is a Black family that has a mother and a father.
And they're united.
And they're united, and they're raising Black kids together. And
not only are they doing this, they're raising awareness. And we're going to get on the awareness later, because this is something that I kind of want to expound on as we go on. But I'm moving forward with celebrities. Ellen allowed D-Wade to come onto the show and use her show as a platform to talk about Zaya's transition. And he had a lot of things to say, and a lot of things that he wanted to expound on. One of the things was Gabrielle Union. When they found out Zaya wanted to transition, she went to the cast of polls to seek information about being transgender. Now, most people are freaking out. It's like, well, why would they go to them? Because they transgender. They know what it's like.
I mean, shout out to the cast of Pose, but India Moore is a trans woman who she identifies as non-binary, but they are a person that has been an advocate, especially for all the trans women that have been killed. Now, this is a separate subject, but I'm going to touch on it real quick. Mm-hmm. If you don't like how somebody lives their lives, you don't have to kill them. Mm.
That's a hate crime.
It's a hate crime, and I just think that it's really frustrating and sad, because some of these trans women that are being killed aren't being killed because they're trans. It's because the person who killed them has had some sort of relationship with them, and they don't want anybody to find out.
And now people want to give the right and say that, well, what if they weren't being honest? Okay, they weren't being honest. Doesn't matter. Still did not give you the authorization to kill them.
You do not get to be judge, jury, and executioner. As
a former United States Army soldier, we were instructed. We have things they call rules of engagement. Okay, and that was changed depending on the situation. And now here's my thing. In a situation with a trans woman or a trans man, your rules of engagement should be this. If they're not trying to physically harm you or kill you, you should not do anything to them. It is your responsibility to know what you're getting yourself into. If anybody should be upset with anybody, it should be with your dadgum self. Because you should have paid attention to detail. Better yet, how about ask a question? There's nothing wrong with asking a question. And if that person wants to get offended by the question, okay, then maybe you're better off. Because nowadays you have to ask these questions to be informed. Because yes, there are things on the flip side of that coin where there are trans men and trans women that will do what they can to get by and won't say anything. It's been in situations and people make fun of it, but it's not funny. The trans men and trans women that take advantage of other people, you're making it hard and you're making it look bad on the ones that are just trying to live a life and figure out who and what they are. You know,
and a lot of them are figuring it out too late, which is why this conversation about Zaya is so important. Mm-hmm. They're figuring it out at a time where, you know, they're fully formed adults and they still are, you know, struggling with who they are. Mm-hmm. Also, some of y'all aren't being tricked, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Some of y'all aren't being tricked.
That's true. That's very true. Some of you know, and then you feel the type of when people find out. Look, man, I don't know what to tell you, him or her, in regards to who ends up in a situation like this. But man up or woman up in regards to, you know, being with someone that's trans or gay or whatever. Or better yet, figure out who and what you are. Because maybe you're the one with the problem, not them.
And that is the key right there.
Moving forward, D. Wade, this is a quote that he also said about his daughter Zaya. He said, "You are our leader. You are our leader, and it's an opportunity to always allow you to be a voice." He went on to say, "Right now it's through us because she's only 12 years old, but eventually it will be through her." I took that as him giving identity or recognition to the fact that, yes, she's still a child, and which is why they're allowing all the pressure to fall on them. So all the punches and all the blows that you're taking, that's why D. Wade is taking them in stride, because that's his responsibility as a man and as a father to that child, regardless of what she desires to be or not to be. Okay, moving on, and he was on a podcast called All the Smoke, and he said, "I've watched my son from day one become into who she now eventually has come into. Nothing changes with my love. Nothing changes with my responsibilities. Only thing I have to do now is get smarter and educate myself more." And lastly, he was on Yahoo Finance Presents, and he said they asked Wade about parenting, and he replied with, "Just listen to your kids. Listen. Both Lilac and I are parents, and it's been times where we probably haven't even listened to our kids, or we should."
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. It's you know, when you're a parent and you have a kid, especially if your kid is like quote unquote difficult, and I don't really like using that word because I feel like that's a cop out. But if you have a kid that needs more attention than others,
she's being nice. If they're a knucklehead, I'll say it.
If more attention than others. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to stop and really listen to your kid. I'm learning that. Right. I'm not a perfect parent. And I'm not claiming to be the perfect parent. But I know that a lot of us growing up weren't listened to as kids. Mm-hmm.
And even to this day, as adults, ain't being listened to.
I mean, even the parents, the best parents with the best intentions can miss the smallest things. I think Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith are great parents, but there were things that even they missed. Mm-hmm. I mean, their kids are great now. I mean, you can have your opinions or whatever, but Willow and Jaden and Trey are great kids.
Right.
They grew up, you know, they had their rough patches, but they are great kids. All the things that Trey is doing, all the things that Willow's doing all the positivity they have, but they still miss things, and they didn't listen to their kids.
Right. And that's hard to do sometimes, being in the position you're in.
Yeah. Especially being a celebrity. It's real hard to listen to your kids. Willow was cutting herself, and Jada didn't even know.
Right. Yeah, she saw that on the Red Table Talk.
She talked about that on the Red Table.
I think she broke down and started crying or something like that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and that's the thing, you know. And even as adults, like, we have our issues, and our parents, they pry in our lives, and they ask, and you know, it goes two ways. Here's my whole thing about this entire situation as a whole. One, yes, the situation with Zaya is a very, very hard situation to wrap your head around and really understand. Because it's like, okay, how can a boy want to be a girl? How can a girl want to be a boy? I get that. That's just something that's just naturally going to have you confused. I can respect that. But you can be confused and not understand and still be respectful. Okay? That's my first thing. The second thing is, I want to give 110% like praise and accommodations and love to that entire family, especially the parents, Gabrielle Union, at which Zaya's not her child at all, right? That's not even her child, okay? And D Wade. Their overwhelming support of Zaya is beautiful. Regardless of whether it's trans or gay or whatever, it's just the fact that they've decided to come together as a cohesive unit and work together and not only figure this out, but help their child get through this. Because I'm pretty daggum sure that she is going through all types of, you know, questions and wondering and feeling some type of way. You know, as I've seen the videos and seen their interactions, she looks happy. And I would rather see a child happy with themselves than miserable and want to kill themselves and want to cut themselves. Like I said it earlier, we have babies out here killing themselves. This is a serious situation. And parents, especially black parents, white parents, Asian parents, don't matter. If you have a child that's gay, if you have a child that's transgender, get off your high horse and love your child. If my children came to me and was like, oh, daddy, I'm gay, or daddy, I'm trans, I would be scared to death. But at the same time, that is not going to change my love for my children. I will love them with everything I have in me, regardless of what they choose to be. You know, and that's what we have to do. We have to learn and educate ourselves and understand and really listen to our children and quit treating our children like they're ignorant. They're not. Yes, they have a lot to learn, but guess what? You was a child once too. And sometimes we do the same crap that our parents do to us that we complain about or have complained about. Cut the cycle, man. Cut the cord. No disrespect to our parents, for they did what they was taught. They did what they thought were right. And there's nothing wrong with doing what you think is right. But here's the issue. We have to sometimes go beyond what we think and then start to learn and know and then transcend that way. Knowledge is power, people. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, an education from college. I mean, I'm talking about learning about people. And that's like the number one thing, to have emotional intelligence, to be able to sit down and really listen to what a person feels, to understand what a person feels, and try to know, not sympathize, but empathize with them. If you can get to a point where you can empathize with a human being, you are a beautiful soul. Because now you're allowing yourself to not only open up to listen, but open up to what they are going through. And I guarantee you, if we did that, all this hatred would not exist.
That would be a much better place.
So people, I'm begging you, get your stuff together, man. And at the end of the day, this situation with D Wade and Gabrielle and Zaya ain't none of your dadgum business. They ain't your child.
It's not, and the only reason I think that they're talking about it publicly is because they know that there are other parents out there that are experiencing the same things with their child, and they don't have a lifeline, and so they're kind of throwing them a lifeline and saying, well, here's how we're handling it, and you know, we're trying to get the proper help because we don't fully understand. It's two straight cisgendered people who do not feel like we're in our wrong bodies. We're trying to truly understand what our child is going through and support our child.
Right.
And I am a straight cisgendered woman who had to learn. I had to listen and learn. And I mean, it started for me in high school. A friend came out to me. I won't say that person's name. And I was like, oh. And I hugged that person and told them that I still loved them and cared about them. Mm-hmm. And so that's where my understanding kind of started. Now, granted, like I said before, I've had to learn and then I've had to check myself in different ways, but I'm going to continue to learn and I'm going to continue to love people mm-hmm. because that's the most important thing to take away from all of this. Mm-hmm. There's so much wrong with the world. There's so much hate and maliciousness in the world. You know, if there's an instance where you can choose love, then choose love. And I got overly emotional about some of this is because that I have friends that some of them have treated me better than people in the church have treated me, and that's just the honest God truth.
Yeah,
and
I'm witness to that too. I'm witness to that too.
And so it'd be wrong of me to turn my back on those people when they've showed me love mm-hmm. and support. No. And I think we just need to really think and evaluate the way we handle things and the way we treat things. Because I think if we led with love instead of all this hate, then maybe people were more prone to listen and maybe want to change their lives for the better. Mm-hmm. Or, maybe not. Mm-hmm. But again, I will say it again, I am a Christian person, and a lot of the principles I've learned, I keep with me, but at the same time, I always think of what Jesus would do, and Jesus would love.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
He would love these people. He would talk to them. He would sit down and he would listen. Yeah, because that's what he did. If you read out through the Bible, he talked a lot, but at the same time, he did listen. He sat and he listened to the plight of different people, and that was what led them to the Lord. So I think we need to keep that in mind.
As we close this out, I just want to say to the person I was talking about earlier, if you're watching this, you're loved, you're missed, and I wish I could hug you. One day we'll meet up and I'll give you a hug. But you stay focused, you stay strong, you stay moving forward, and just know, like in a unintentional way, this episode and this segment really is kind of dedicated to you, and really to all transgenders that we know or are even watching this. Right here at Light and Shade, we love you, and we want you to be proud of who you are and what you are, and we in the fight with you. Just know that.
And if there's any little babies watching this, if you don't feel the love and if nobody loves you, then know that I do.
Absolutely.